Welcome to our special Christmas edition podcast. Okay, this is the second Christmas that we've all been together. Okay, this might be our first video. We hope it works out, but this is our second Christmas. So this episode is going to be a special 12 Days of J episode. All right, not traditional 12 Days of Christmas. We're going to give you our favorite 12 tips on how to get better at jiu-jitsu. Okay, Kevin, all of these tips do require you to actually know what jiu-jitsu is and stop being a fat piece of shit. Okay, but that's not one of the 12. Don't be a fat piece of shit, right? Maybe we should write that down and have an honorable mention number 13.
13, right?
Yeah. So the idea behind this podcast is for you guys to kind of take our advice, right? I've been a black belt for almost a year and a half, a little longer. Kevin's been a purple belt for feels like 15 years. And, we've been doing a jiu-jitsu a lot, and we want to give back to everybody who's listening. So 12 tips on how to get better at jiu-jitsu, okay? And these tips are from tried and true experience on both of our parts. We've both been training. We started training the same day, so we've been doing jiu-jitsu for a really long time, and Kevin branched out and did some MMA. So these tips kind of encompass all of that, right? How to get better. And it's really how to get better at everything, but specifically jiu-jitsu, okay? So Kevin, why don't you start us off?
So actually, this first one is near and dear to my heart, one that I believe wholeheartedly in. It's come to class, right? We talked about it. We started jiu-jitsu the same day. One of us is a black belt. The other one's a purple belt.
Isn't there a pot calling the kettle something joke going on right there?
That's exactly what it is. You know what the problem probably is? Consistency, right? We were relatively the same level for a long time. We got our blue belts close to the same time. We got purple belts close to the same time. And then something happened. I'm gonna guess it's probably I stopped coming to class consistently, and that really slowed down my growth and my thing. So as much as I joke that that's one, tried and true. I can tell you right now, if you don't come consistently, you're not going to develop.
That's true. And when we had Jason Dynamite Dent on the podcast, he was very proud of your armbar and your triangle, and I chuckle about that off air. Because it's like, dude, Kevin has an armbar and a triangle. I've never ever seen them. And part of that's because you just sometimes don't come.
I got a mean triangle. I got a fake armbar. That's the problem. I set it up.
Got it.
I just gave away my secret. But I fake an armbar. I can't armbar anybody, but I go real hard for it. People bait it, and then that triangle's there.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. So, guys, I don't think there's any substitute for just being in class, right? I mean, it's on my intro on the website, undergroundbjj.com. Check us out. Click instructors, and you'll see Mike Rooney and myself, and you'll see under my name, under the description, it's like, just freaking come to class. Believe it or not, osmosis is huge when it comes to jiu-jitsu, right? Just surrounding yourself by people who do jiu-jitsu and are actively caring about jiu-jitsu and, making it a consistent effort in your life is going to really return significant rewards. Right? I mean, I don't think anybody's going to argue that you can't get better at jiu-jitsu if you don't come to jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's kind of part and parcel. Hand in hand there, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, number 2, okay, be engaged while you're in class or while you're in seminars or while you're at tournaments, right? Be engaged. There's a saying that flies on the wall are the easiest swatted, right? And when I think about the classes I've taught, classes I've been to, the seminars that I've been to, when the instructor at the end of the class goes, hey, does anybody have any questions about anything? And earlier on, it was like, I'm not asking a question because it's going to be a stupid question. Everybody else is going to know the answer to this question. And I'm going to be that lonesome dove who is clueless when it comes to jiu-jitsu, right? But there's a lot more that goes into being engaged than just asking questions at the end of your class or in a seminar, right? I like to, when I roll, I'm a big proponent of trying to remember my rolls, right? And remembering how I got to positions on certain people and things. I remember all the rolls every single time, right? That's kind of impossible unless you're, some kind of genius. Dr. Corey Kilburn maybe can do that. I don't know about anybody else, but specific spots in my head, I'll try to flag, right? As a nerd, I think of tagging it, hey, this is something I need to come back to. And I'll try to remember those. And I think that helps me come back and analyze, and it helps me think about those later on. But it also helps me from roll to roll because I want to go in with, if maybe my triangle didn't work from a certain position, think, it didn't work well on this guy, but it did work well on this guy. And it'll help me kind of adapt to that later on. So please be engaged. And it's not all of that included. It's much more, right? If you're just there to train and you know, we have a couple people in class who come in, they sit on the sidelines, you know, they make no effort to join the community that we have, no effort to do anything, but I think they come because they have to. I mean, I think, you know, maybe one of their moms is like, hey, you got to go do jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's a fairly young kid, so maybe his grandma's like, you got to go do jiu-jitsu. But some people just come in, they're not real friendly, and, you know, they come in, they do what they got to do, and then they dip. Sometimes they don't even say bye. And I think to myself, it's a lifestyle, jiu-jitsu, for me at least, right? And for people who want to get good, it should transition into a lifestyle. So be engaged, right? If you are just sitting on the sidelines, not saying anything, not actively working to get yourself better, right? Because the instructor can only teach you so much.
Yeah, and in addition to that, and this is what kills me the most, is I see everybody gets around and you know, it's time to drill. The instructor sets up and starts setting something up, and there's always two guys that are behind him. You can't see anything that's going on. I don't care if you're the black belt or you're the white belt. You can't stand behind somebody and watch what's going on. They plop their ass on the ground and they sit there.
That's a good point.
And they have a great vantage point at first, and then it's a sweep, and then they can't see anything. Nothing kills me more, especially when I see a white belt who's looking to get the blue belt, who stands there and, you know, and sits down. Who sits down, frankly. If you're looking to get promoted, when they're drilling, you better not be sitting down. You should be standing up. You should be walking around. Don't walk in front of people, but you can run real fast. You can walk around them. Get a vantage point. See where the hand positions are. See, you know, the little techniques, you know, how far apart his legs are, where he's posting.
Yes.
There's so much detail that's out there that, frankly, you can't see if you're sitting even right in front of the guy. Right, you have to move around, and that kills me probably more than anything. The guys just literally plop down and just sit there. So, and when you talk about being engaged, it's about being an engaged, you know, an active listener,
absolutely,
and not just asking the questions, but paying attention and doing the extra things to pay attention to learn those little things. You know, oh, this move isn't working for me. How many times do you walk over and go, oh, just open your knee out a little bit? Those are things that I might have saw that might have saved me 2 or 3 hours of drilling and rolling and doing it wrong had I just got my lazy ass up and moved around.
You're an interactive learner, right? You want to get up, you want to get you need to get a good vantage point. You need to get in there and be able to see. And the other half of that coin is if you can't see or something's not making sense, you're actively asking questions.
Yeah.
Hey, are you using that grip to pull, or are you just kind of holding on to that to isolate a limb? Or are you pushing with your knees? Or are you not pushing with your knees? Things like that.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah,
and
those little details that make everything possible, and you can't see those. I mean, we're people. We're 3D models. You can't. We're not. It's not 2D. It's not flat. You can't stay in front of it and see all the details that are there. You just can't.
Yep. And jiu-jitsu being so, for lack of a better term, pretzel-y, right, with twists and turns, and you know, my arms are going places that, you know, are sometimes not visible because we're so connected. You guys have to be engaged when you're doing this, right? And it means more or different things to different people, but if you're engaged, it will solve 2 problems. 1, it'll help you fix your techniques quicker, and 2, it's going to also build that camaraderie and community in your jiu-jitsu network, right? There's cliques at every gym, right? As a black belt, I don't necessarily hang around with the white belts up front, right? It takes me a few months to learn their names. They're not the first people that I roll with. And not that I'm cliquey, because I'm super friendly with everybody, and they'll probably say, hey, Scott's a great dude, blah, blah, blah. He helps me all the time, but they're not my first choice. But what if I see one and he is actively listening, learning, interactive on his own, and he's not just sitting on the sidelines, and he's talking about competitions, or he's talking about things that I can relate to, I'm probably going to be more apt to help them.
So much. We talked a lot about the tangible, but you just mentioned there kind of the intangible benefits of being engaged, that you're going to catch the eye of other guys who have been there a long time, and then, you know, you're going to get that extra help.
Right. Absolutely. So being engaged, right? I mean, that's our number 2. Number 3.
Number 3. This is actually one that it took me a long time to learn, and I probably didn't really learn it till this is probably the reason I got my purple belt. It was have a plan, right? And I think the big part of this was set small goals. Not big goals, right? I want to learn certain positions. I want to be able to do certain things. And sometimes it's not always small goals. I always set broad goals with small steps in between. Like, hey, I want to improve my guard game. Well, what does that mean? It means I want to have a solid triangle, and I want to have a solid flower sweep. Those were the 2 things that I worked on because I felt they led together, right? And I think being able to call those out, that doesn't mean you ignore everything else and this is all you concentrate on, but you put that as a plan and you make sure you work it extra. You know what I mean? If you're having a roll where you're having a roll off and someone wants to drill, well, that's what you drill. You drill what's on your goal. If you're rolling with a white belt or someone who's, much less, maybe not as good as you, maybe a lot smaller, you work those things. You look at your setups. You look to do those kind of things. So I think that was a big one. It was unfortunate. It was one that I learned a little too late. Not too late, but a little later than I should have.
When I think about having a goal, we're both in IT, in project management. I do think of setting goals within individual milestones. So I recently, and I've talked about this in the podcast with Robert Deagle and some other people, I recently started messing around with getting deeper into the foot lock game, right? In the leg lock game. And my goal is non-measurable as this sounds, is to get better at leg locks, right? It's not measurable, right? If we talk SMART goals, It's not a measurable goal. It's specific enough, but it's not measurable, right? It is achievable. And how I'll measure that is when I stop losing to guys by footlocks on a regular basis, and when I start, getting better and more apt at those positions as I'm rolling. But the small milestones for that, right, are, I need to be able to control the leg a little bit more. I need to be able to expose that heel when I'm looking for heel hooks or inverted heel hooks. When I'm looking for those kind of things, I need better heel exposure, right? I need better leg control at the thigh level, at the lower or the higher knee level. And as I'm working on these milestones, it's things that I can visibly and tangibly feel. And it is things that I can work towards every time I roll. And when I'm rolling, depending on if I'm doing gi or no gi, they'll be different. But I may go in and say, you know what, I'm arm barring all day today, or I'm going to try to arm bar all day today. That's my mission. I need to get better at arm bars. I don't have any more specifics than that. I'm not going any more granular. I'm just going to attack a lot of arm bars. And maybe that goal works great when you're purple and higher, right? But as a blue belt, maybe you need to set your goals a little bit differently. Maybe it's, shit, that purple belt keeps me in side control all the time. I'm going to try not to even get in side control. He can't hold me in side control if I don't let him get side control, right? Things like that. So having a goal is huge. Now, there's a lot that goes into setting goals in jiu-jitsu and planning out how you're going to approach each class. And you don't have to have a goal every time, I don't believe.
No, I would agree.
In general,
you should have a high level goal and kind of to get around with a milestone. Sometimes, we say set a goal, and we say, set the small goals. But even if you think it broad, hey, I want to get better at triangles, right? You said that's your goal, right? But you always have to be really to reevaluate that. Do you need and set smaller goals or milestones to that big goal, right? You start working your triangles. You go, really, I got to work on my entry, right? That's my big thing. I got to work on my entry, catching it. And then my next milestone is I got to work on my triangle control. I'm not looking to finish. I'm not looking to, do anything slick there. I'm just looking to hold it and not have them get out right away. Now I'm looking for my finish. Right. So there you go. We just set 3 small milestones, each individually, about how, what to work on for your broad goal of a triangle. So I think that's part of it too, is you can have a broad goal, right? But you always have to be open to, how do you shrink that down? How do you, especially as a black belt, you're able to set those. You're able to say, hey, I want to get better at heel hooks. And the milestones, right? I got to get better at this kind of entry. I got to get better at the roll. I got to get better at securing the heel. Like, you were able to just rattle those off. As a new guy, yeah, I want to get better at triangles. I want to get better at arm bars, and then find out what that means. All right. As you figure out what's important or where your arm bars are lacking, that becomes your goal. You don't have to worry about finishing an arm bar. If I can hold you in an arm bar position but not finish you, that's a win, right? When it comes to my goals.
Absolutely. And I think, you're better off setting goals than you are just coming in and running willy-nilly. Okay. Not saying you have to have a goal every class, but where's the problem in that, right? Where's the problem in having a goal every class? You know what? I'm going to try arm bars today. Guess what? If I end up hitting people with triangles all day long, not from an armbar setup, I still had a pretty good day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got to work something else. So maybe singularly focused is not the right approach, but always having a goal is probably the right way to attack or approach anything.
I don't think it really, especially with jiu-jitsu, if you're singularly focused, you're missing out a lot of the other details that when we talked about being engaged, everything else that's going on. But again, when you have that extra time, when you have that partner, whether it's a really bad partner or maybe it's a really good partner, right? Those are the times that, you think about, hey, I'm going to work a few extra things in this role, in this drilling session, wherever it happens to be. Especially if you have that goal, then all of a sudden we're drilling triangles that day. Hey, you're ready to go. And that should improve your engagement. I'm going to make sure I'm in the right position to see things that I'm missing. I'm going to ask the questions about what I don't understand about, right? And then I'm going to interact with the community and ask the guys who are really good at triangles.
For sure. And it goes right back into, being engaged, like you said, and and making sure that you're not just. I mean, you won't set a goal if you're not engaged, I think. So they're
I don't know if that's true.
But
a lot of guys set false goals, and and this is probably a thing in life.
Is any goal really bad?
No, but if what's the follow through, right? We talk about the milestone, what it takes to get there. I'm going to set a goal to be a millionaire, but if I'm not going to work every day and working my ass off,
yeah, but you can set a goal and not be engaged, right? And your goal is just you're never gonna reach it.
It's pointless. Yeah. So they kind of go hand in hand in that case.
I think they're linked. So that was number 3. Let's do number 4. Right? Number 4 is drill. Okay, drillers make killers. And I used to think that when I got my black belt that I probably wouldn't drill a whole lot, right? Because I could drill rolling with the white belts, in a live scenario. I can drill rolling with some blue belts in a live scenario. Do I need that kind of rote, slow-paced, like technical execution when I'm doing these things? And then I started doing the leg lock stuff. And I thought, you know what? Some of these entries require me to slow down to, I know a heel hook, I know a knee bar, I know a foot lock, I know a whole bunch of different attacks. But the scenarios you get in are almost impossible to drill live, right? Some of them. And I needed to slow down. So when I started drilling that stuff, it really brought me kind of full circle to, I do need to drill more. I need to drill a lot. And I think everybody listening, you should drill a lot too. You should drill the things you're good at to make them crisper. You should drill the things you're bad at, right, to get better at them. You should drill much more than just the techniques. You should drill positionally. You should drill combinations. Option A doesn't work. I'm going to option B. You should drill them as a system, okay, which I think is probably the majority of everybody's preferred learning style. I'm going for this armbar. This armbar doesn't work. I'm going to go for this triangle. This triangle doesn't work. I'm going to go for this omoplata. This omoplata doesn't work. I'm going to sweep from the omoplata onto mount or into side control or whatever, right? I work systematically and I should drill those, right? I should drill these in combinations. So even black belts should drill. Okay, I think it's important.
Yeah, I would agree. And kind of to add on to your point, one of my favorite sayings, I've said it on the podcast before, is slow is smooth and smooth is quick.
Goddamn right.
And that's the idea about it. You drill something slow and you understand the movement correctly, right? And that movement becomes smooth and easy. And if you're smooth and it's easy to move it, boom, that's getting in there faster. And then you start picking it up and you put it in there. I think the other thing that we kind of forget about is active drilling. Right? I always see there's 2 kinds of drilling, right? Or everybody thinks there's 2 kinds of drilling. There's drilling and then there's live drilling, as you said. But there's not. There's so much more in between there, right? There's drilling at 15%, 25%. Hey, I'm going to do this move, but once I get to this part, don't let me finish you in the triangle. Let me do the setup, or those kind of things. I think you have to think about it and really expand. What does it mean to drill, right? I think everybody starts off with the drill, having the good uke. I'm saying that correctly. The good partner, just kind of going through it. But from there, you have to start expanding that. What does that mean? I can't drill live triangles with you if I'm a white belt and you're a black belt, but I can drill them at 25%, and you can show me the small things that I'm missing, right? So
absolutely. Did you try to use a Japanese word?
Uke.
Is it uke?
I think it's
Japanese
uke.
word?
I think so. Yeah, your drilling partner.
You barely speak English. Why would you even attempt to use some other language?
Listen, I was right. That's all.
Okay, just checking. Just trying to let everybody know you're kind of a schmuck. Anyway. So that was number 4. Give us number 5.
Number 5 is actually one of my favorites. It's relax, right? And I think this is a great one. And I think this is a great one, kind of from the time you walk into class, right? I always say if you want to be great at something, you've got to do it a lot. If you're going to do something a lot, you got to enjoy it, right? So if you're going to walk in the door all stressed out, worried about winning or getting better and all those kind of things, not going to enjoy yourself as much. The second part is, and especially when you're drilling, you're having trouble. It's okay. It's jiu-jitsu, right? It's hard. It's weird. It's different. You're going to have some trouble. Keep going through it. And then lastly, the live rolls. And I've been guilty of this as well, is you don't need to win every time. You don't need to spaz out when you're a bad position. Take your time, relax, think about what you were doing, and then try to do it. And the next time, try not to think as much.
Right.
And it becomes natural. And you can't do that if you're stressing yourself out, worrying so bad about, what's going to happen or how you're going to mess up. So what? You got your guard passed. You relax. Don't worry about don't worry about what just happened. Worry about your next move. And I think if you're stressed out and you're always going 1,000 miles an hour, it's hard to do.
I think this one kind of correlates very nicely with the have a plan and set small small goals, because if I'm intending to win all the time and that's my goal, it's going to be a hard road at jiu-jitsu if your mission is to win constantly. Okay. It's going to be hard. So as you were giving your examples there, this one didn't work for me. Let's focus on the next move. I think it really kind of rings home. I got my guard passed. If my goal was to not get my guard passed, okay, I need to continue working on my goal. If my goal was to armbar somebody and I got my guard passed, then I'm still working to achieve that. And I will be much less concerned about getting submitted in side control if my goal is to not let them pass my guard. Because I've already failed, right? I failed a goal, didn't hit it this time, right? And now I can go, what didn't work? And let's go back to that, okay? And when you're a little bit better than the person you're rolling with, it's easier to force that naturally. If you're not better, like, stop. I need to go back to this guard, right? You need to stop what you're doing. You got side control, tap, tap, tap. No big deal, right? Tapping is not a signal of losing, right? It's a signal of, I need you to stop. And it's only, I need you to stop. Maybe it happens to hurt. I need you to stop. Maybe it doesn't hurt. I'm starting to go unconscious, which sometimes doesn't hurt. I need you to stop. Or, shit, man, what you just did to me violated what I was working on. So stop. Okay. And a tap is, we should all get good at tapping. So tap, I need you to go back to guard, right? Get back in my guard. I need to work on not getting it passed, right? And then let's slow down a little bit. Show me what you did to pass my guard, right? And hopefully you're training with the right people you can do that with, but that's the mission, right?
Yeah, and to kind of add on that a little bit and kind of a little bit of the flip side, it's okay if you're working for to not have your guard get passed and the guy pass your guard. It's great if you made that, hey, we're going to stop. Also, you don't have to stop. You'll get back to guard. Relax. Sure. It's no big deal. You failed your goal this one time. If you're not failing at your goal, that means your goal isn't set right, right? You shouldn't be passing your goal every single time.
We'd all be black belts if we just succeeded at every one
We'd
of
all
our
be white
goals
belts because we would
immediately.
have an easy goal. That'd be it.
Wow. Sure.
So,
well, no. You sure wouldn't be a black belt, but
true.
everybody else might be.
I don't have a goal. Not to come to class.
Right.
Succeeding.
Right. But I like that. I like that a lot. Relax, just bring it down a few pegs, right? Calm down a little bit, right? You don't need to be tense the whole time either, right? We've all rolled with that brand new dude who rolls in and he's so tense, like he's trying to pick me up and body slam me the whole entire round. Dude, chill out, bro. There are excellent spots in jiu-jitsu where you can take a breather, right? You can get a good spot and hold on to it a little bit longer. Just woo-saw like a motherfucker, right? When you're in that spot. I mean, just relax, calm down. There's more tips later on that are going to help you bring this all into context. But yeah, chill out, calm down, relax a little bit. So I like that one. That's probably one of my favorite ones. So let's jump right into number 6, okay? And this one, I think, is probably one of the most important ones, but I'm going to add a disclaimer to it once I talk about it, right? Listen to your elders in jiu-jitsu. And I don't mean elders as in like the oldest motherfucker in the room, right? Although we all have, that old dude in the room who's probably pretty good. He's probably been around a long time, but that's not the point, right? The guys who are a rank ahead of you, okay, is what I mean. White belts, if a blue belt tells you, man, this is how I picked it up, have a listen, okay? If a purple belt tells you, have a listen. Black belts have been around for a really long time.
Don't listen to them at all.
Don't listen to them at all, especially me. But these people who have been around the block and have reached the promotional milestones that maybe you're working towards, maybe maybe you find some dude who's great at arm bars or scissor sweeps or something, and that's something you're working on. Have a listen. You don't have to heed everything everybody says, but they probably got some good ideas. If they're 50 pounds heavier than you and they're like, yeah, I grab this and I hold on real tight, weigh it. If it doesn't fit into the way that you roll, discard it, right? Or maybe put it on the shelf. You can bring it back later. But we got some dudes, and I've seen dudes in the past who maybe just, there was one person they like to listen to and one person only. And sometimes that's the instructor, sometimes it's not. But, I can learn from anybody. There's a couple dudes who show me some things, the way they attack or the way they get underneath. And matter of fact, a blue belt caught me the other day. Not the other day, but a month ago. And we were rolling and I was playing bottom half guard and I looked to push him I looked to push him away and bring his feet up to me, and he snatched onto a footlock and footlocked me. A blue belt, okay? I'm a black belt, a blue belt. And I was like, dude, what did you do? And we walked through it, and I was like, dude, that's really nice, because I was keeping my foot out of posture or out of the way, in the way of his body, and he was just able to pin it to his chest and attack it. So I learn things all the time, and he's not one of my elders, but the idea behind this is that you can learn a little bit of something from everybody, and you should at least try to do what the people above you have done, right? What is it? Isaac Newton says, I've seen further by standing on the shoulders of giants. And that is, never truer in the jiu-jitsu sense.
Yeah, to add on that a little bit. So one of the best things about jiu-jitsu is a lot of people can have a different style. You could do things differently. The downfall to that is a lot of times you get into there, I'm doing a move and I'm having medium success with it. And then you come in and you tell me to do something a little different. And I naturally go, I don't do it that way. That doesn't work for me. Well, there's a reason why you as a black belt, you're telling me to do it. Like you said, listen, give it a shot, see if it's right. Because while you're a blue belt and you're having having really good success with blue belts and moderate success with purple belts, like you should be, right? Those bad habits may be forming, and then all of a sudden, when you get to those higher levels, get to those certain guys, it just doesn't work anymore. And it's because you've formed bad habits and habits that you could have easily broken. Just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it's not right. Maybe it's your body that needs to be trained a little bit more. You got to stretch a little bit more. You got to get used to being in that awkward position, right? Just because it feels wrong at first, it doesn't mean it's wrong.
I've never met somebody higher ranked than me who purposely gave me bad advice. Okay. I've never ever met somebody in all of my jiu-jitsu who purposely. Now, there's been some advice that just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Okay. But nobody's purposely said, hey, not seriously. And I've always tried to tell Kevin, hey, do it this way. So every time we roll, I can smash you with it, because that's totally wrong. But I've never met anybody who purposely tries to be reductive in jiu-jitsu skill, right? It's always additive. I want to grease the wheels for you. I don't want you to have to go through the same stuff that I went through, right? If I know of a certain thing that just works, or a certain grip that's better than, maybe what you're doing or what I see you're doing, or if you ask me a question, more importantly, if you ask me a freaking question and I give you an answer and you're like, nah, and you just totally disregard it, that's frustrating for an instructor. That's frustrating for a higher rank. It's happened a few times in the past. Hey, how do you do that? And it's like, well, I do it this way. And then it's like, oh, you're not even attempting to do it that way. Hey, I didn't like it. All right, whatever, fine. No big deal. Why'd you ask me if you...
Well, and sometimes, I guess sometimes that's okay, right? Sometimes if you show me something and it doesn't work, but like you said, weigh what they said. Does it work in you? Does it fit in your game? Ask somebody else. Maybe what you're doing is wrong. And that's what I get. Maybe what you're doing isn't, maybe it's not wrong, but it's 80% right. Your way's 90% right. That 10% is huge in jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
And those are the things I think of. Just because it doesn't make sense to you right away, or it's not how you roll, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not how you should roll.
Sure.
Right. And I think that's the big thing, is just because it doesn't feel natural or doesn't fit in your game, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not something you should consider.
Nicely said. So that was number 6. Okay. So on the 7th day of Christmas, Kevin?
So this is one I firmly believe in, but this is probably one of the hardest ones on the list, right? It's listen to your body, right? And I say that because it's jiu-jitsu.
Preach.
Like we are grabbing each other, we're turning each other's shoulders, knees, elbows. I'm squeezing your nose, your neck. It hurts, right? And it hurts the next day, right? It's any kind of working out does, but working out where I get to choke you, that hurts a little bit more some days, right? So it comes to understanding the differences, listening to your body and listening to your whining ass, right? I don't know how to say it a better way, but I think that's what you have to be careful.
Says it best. My mind keeps telling me yes, but my body, or my mind keeps telling me no. What is it?
But my body's telling me yes.
But my body's telling me yes, right?
Right.
I mean, R. Kelly, Bump and Grind, says it best.
Yeah. So, and there's nothing wrong with getting a little hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
but you have to understand. You got to understand where you're at, and you got to understand your limitations. This goes back to some of the other things that we've talked about. Understand your body. Understand what your limitations. Hey, if you can't make it, if you're hurt, you're walking with a limp. Doesn't mean don't go to class. It just means don't roll hard.
Well, you might be in a different career path if you're walking with a limp, but it's fine.
Not necessarily. How many times if you get an ankle lock, you know what I mean? You twist an ankle pretty
Dude,
good.
I'm walking with a limp right now, right? With a torn groin.
Well, again, so the understanding, it's a torn groin, and actually, what was it? Well, right when you first tore it, right? Yeah, we happened to see each other, and you were just coming back from class, right? But you were smart. You went to class, but you listened to your body. You didn't drill,
right?
You sat there, you
Didn't
absorbed, you learned.
Yep.
Yeah, you were there, but you became engaged and did kind of the other things that we were talking about. But you listened to your body. But also, you got to understand, some things are going to hurt some days, and some days you're going to have, if you want to get better, you're going to have to work through it, right? You're going to have to understand what it is, and maybe that means like, hey, you know what? I hurt my knee last week. I'm not going to sit at the side of class. I'm going to drill. I'm going to skip rolling, which is always a hard one for me. If I'm not rolling, I don't want to go to class. I like drilling. I like doing the other stuff, but I want to roll, right? It's understanding, and maybe I'm going to roll it a little light. Maybe I'm going to take certain rounds off, right? Understand what's going on and what's happening with your body. But listen to it, but don't necessarily let it control you.
There's a contradiction here, because if your elbow hurts, right, and it's like injured, maybe you should take some time off, right? If you got a sore pinky, right, and you're like, man, I don't want to even train, I got a sore pinky, tape it up, take it easy, right? It's a sliding scale, right? It's not my body's telling me no, I can't do this, right? It's, man, something hurts. I need to weigh myself. Nobody else can tell me. Now, the other people at the gym are going to be like, yeah, fuck you pussy, right? You're not coming in to train. You got a hurt elbow. Right? I keep saying hurt elbow because Kevin's got a hurt elbow. That's why he doesn't train. But you should listen to your body. And if you don't know, you're like, dude, like I hurt my groin calendar year ago, and I was going to physical therapy. I just pulled it, a strain, and and I can't train some days. And then when I felt like I could come back and train, and I'm a guard player, don't have a floppy kneed guard, because dudes start pushing on that, it's going to hurt, right? And then you transition, you're like, okay, maybe I'm going to play mount. If I get into guard and anything hurts, tap, let's start over, right? You can always tell the person to stop, right? And tapping is not quitting, it's telling the person to stop, right? Like we just talked about. So you can always do that. So I think the difference between injury and being hurt is your understanding of your own body, right? And also, kind of biomechanics, right? If your arm doesn't bend a certain way, you probably shouldn't train because it could be injured even more. But there's no better substitute for you to listen to your body. It will prevent overtraining. It will prevent injuries. It'll maybe force you to stretch a little bit more. It will help you rest.
And I was actually going to bring up the stretch. I use you as an example. I don't think this is accurate, but you said this is the second time in 2 years that you've hurt your groin, right? Maybe you should listen to your body a little bit. Why are you hurting your groin? Are you not stretching it right? Or are you not doing the right things? Maybe you're, you have an active guard. I was training
for a competition. I might not have listened to it 100%.
Right. Well, yeah. Maybe you need to look at, the way you're stretching, right? Especially you're getting up in age.
Brittle bone disease.
Maybe you got brittle bone disease. Maybe it's your active guard. Maybe you're flaring a little bit more than you want, and then as they're putting the pressure on you, strain. So you get two groin
injuries. Thanks for rubbing it in. I got plenty of time to dissect that right now. Because I can't train.
This is the perfect time, right? Can't train for a lot of reasons, all right? 2 groin injuries, 2 issues. Listen to your body. Something is wrong. Yeah. You need to fix it.
Preach.
Maybe it's your technique. Maybe it's your stretching. Maybe it's your bitch. I don't know.
Yeah, agreed. Number 8. Okay. This one, you'll hear conflicting comments about. You'll hear, when you walk in the door, most likely the blues and purples will tell you this. And then when you get to, the upper level purples to black belt, you'll hear it a little bit different. It says, what you hear is have no ego. Okay, this is what you're going to hear. But that's not the right approach. Okay, that's a terrible approach. It's temper your ego, right? And tempering your ego is your ability when you're new to come in and say, you know what, I don't know anything. I'm going to try, but when I lose, inevitably I will lose. That your pride's not hurt, you're not, become an emotional wreck and things like that, right? Having the ability to temper your ego helps in every scenario in life, first of all, right? It'll prevent you from getting into fights, it'll prevent you from saying the wrong thing, it'll prevent you from doing the wrong thing. But in jiu-jitsu specifically, if you come in fresh off the streets with no jiu-jitsu and you have a big ego, I guarantee you last 1 class, maybe 2, because the enforcers come out when you're a douche. And the best way to be, the first, most and probably quickest way to be a douche is to have a huge ego when you walk in. We, after a set of fights in town one time, this was years ago, we went out to the bar afterwards, and I don't even remember if the dude won or not, but we were at the bar, and we were talking about this to this dude who I knew from high school, and I was with Mike and a bunch of other people. I don't know if you were there. Maybe it was one of your fights. I don't even know.
I don't know.
But we're there, and we're talking to this dude, and he goes, yeah, I've been training since back in the day. I know all about grappling. And I looked at Mike, and Mike has been training since back in the day. I have not, right? Even 15 years is not back in the day, right? Mike's on 25 years, right? Probably a pioneer of jiu-jitsu in our town. And he goes, back in the day, man. He's like, he started after you. And, we're talking. And this dude had such an ego. So we invited him into the gym. We're like, dude, you've been training that long, man. You've been training since back in the day. Oh, shit, you must be great. And he never took us up on the offer. And, that's a different aspect of ego that I'm not necessarily targeting this statement to, because he probably didn't train. He probably heard of jiu-jitsu back in the day and is like, oh man, I know all about grappling, right? Everybody thinks they can throw a knockout punch, right? Everybody thinks they can pick jiu-jitsu up very quickly. Everybody thinks, you know what? I'd be great if I just put a little time into it, right? She'd love me if she knew I was such a nice guy, right? I mean, we all got these things where, we think very highly of our capabilities. And in jiu-jitsu, there is no way to win if you're fresh, okay? So temper your ego, work your way up. And when you get to the point where you have to have an ego, right? You're a year in and you're rolling with the dudes who are also a year in, or you got 2 stripes on your belt and they got 2 stripes on your belt, and you know that it's time, osmotically, that it's time that maybe some stripes are going to be handed out and you need to roll. Bring your ego back into play, right? And then know that, all right, now I'm done rolling with that 2-striper. Now I'm going to roll with a black belt. I probably should shut my ego down a little bit. Or maybe the black belt goes, hey, let's roll hard. And you got to pull that ego back out of your pocket. You got to, dust it off, maybe lick a little bit, right? And then do it, right? So tempering your ego is important. Do not ever have the concept that you're just going to throw your ego out and not have one at all.
Yeah, I would agree. I always joke when I say, you know what I mean? When you walk into the jiu-jitsu, put that ego in your back pocket because you're going to need it that day.
Yep.
Right. And that's the idea. And again, this kind of relates back to the relax one. It's okay to get your guard passed. It's okay to lose. Right. It's okay for all those other things. It's okay for you to bust your ass to get out of the position. It's okay
to whoop a motherfucker's ass if you need to.
It's okay. Yeah. Listen, let's talk about as a prime example, the Hitchhiker Escape, right? When you're in armbar, you need a little ego on that one, right? You are not relaxing your ass out of that thing. You were going hard.
Conviction.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. You need to pull that thing out and go, I'm getting out of this. Right. And sometimes you need that. Some days it's part of your growth. Right. If you're rolling with a higher level belt and you're getting killed and or just someone who's got your numbers, good at those positions, some days you got to go, no, I'm not letting you pass my guard. Mm-hmm. I'm not letting you submit me. I'm doing whatever it takes not to have this happen. Right. You have to roll hard some days. If you want to get better, it's great to roll relaxed and drilled and with that composure. But someday, if you're going to compete, you're going to roll hard. Right.
If you want promoted, you have to earn that rank.
Yes, you got to earn it.
And back in the day, it used to be you had to roll better than all of the other people who were your current color, and then you could make that next leap up to be the worst of the next group, right? You could be the bottom of the pile in the purple belt group if you were the best purple or the best blue belt, right? And the only way you make any leaps and bounds is by putting yourself out of your comfort zone, right? And achieving something better than where you are right now. And having an ego is important for that, right? For that mental fortitude, for that, your ability to just experience the next stage, right? And, but on the flip side of that, dude, don't over ego the wrong group, right? You got to kind of temper it, right? And that's the whole point of, this number, which is number 8 is temper it, right? Don't throw it away. Don't always have it on full blast. But find that happy medium, and it's purely situational. And I know for some of you guys listening, it's like, well, how do I do that? Where do I get it? It's a common sense thing, right? If you're training for a competition, bring the ego out, try to win a lot. No big deal. If you're trying to learn something and your goal is, hey, I want to do it like him, throw the ego away, absorb everything you can, and try to, just take it all in, right? Not everything in jiu-jitsu is a competition. And that's usually where ego comes into play, right? Not everything's a competition.
No, but sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is.
And kind of go back to what you said a little bit before. If you don't necessarily know, you don't know that happy medium, listen to your elders, right?
Yeah.
Ask the questions, but listen to the subtle things. If you're getting your ass kicked by a black belt, you probably got to tune your ego down. Right? That's just the way it is. Right? If it's a guy that's two belts.
It was at that point he knew he fucked up.
That's
right.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? If a guy 2 belts above you it is just beating the crap out of you, you're probably doing something wrong.
Or he's a douche, but chances are very high that he's probably not a douche.
Yeah, if 2 belts above,
it might be, but chances are...
Or 2 belts above, at least put him a purple belt. There's a lot of douche belt purple belts out there, but usually they're not beating up on white belts unless they're doing something wrong.
No one's going home with a medal as a purple belt beating up a white belt or a black belt beating up a purple belt. Right? I mean, I'm going to go home and make one.
Yeah,
right? Because
but you don't go home with it.
That's just who I am, right? I'm going to go home and like 3D print one or something. Like I tap this dude and I make myself a medal. But in reality, right, the gym is, or the academy or the school is a laboratory, okay? And the mission in the laboratory is to make your experiment successful, right? It's not winning all the time, right? It's to make your experiment successful. And maybe your experiment is one of your milestones, or maybe it's a goal, or maybe, you know, of a long-term goal and it comes to fruition, right? So tempering that, listening, all these kind of play together. And that's why we're giving them to you, right? Because these things they synergize, and when you synthesize them all together, you'll get way quicker, faster, I promise. All right. So number 8 was temper your ego. Kevin, give us the 9th day of Christmas.
So I like this one, and it's going to sound a little contradictory to what we talked about in the past about having a plan, but really it's forget your next promotion. So, you know, what if my plan is to get my blue belt? Well, that's a bad plan, right? If your plan is to get to the next belt, that's just a bad plan. And that's okay to have that thought in the back of your head, but you can't have that concentration when you're going into class, when you're setting your goals, right? Your goals should be about getting better, improving the things that you're about, right? And then those promotions will come. If you're doing everything that you need to do. Now, I know certain academies, like Underground, right? There are certain goals there are certain things that they're looking for. If you want to get your blue belt, you have to know these 5 moves. You got to be able to do these 3 things. And those are fine. But, you know, when it comes down to drilling, when it comes to class, you have to forget about the reason why you're doing those a little bit. You have to just worry about the things that you're covering, right? Hey, I need to work on my mount escapes. I got to work on my, you know, my opening of the guard. These are the things that need to work at. I need to keep those goals small, focus on them, and then that promotion will come. Don't put it in mind with a promotion. Again, this will come back to the ego, right? I think I'm a blue belt. I got to earn my blue belt. Let me smash the rest of the white belts here. That's great. You get your blue belt. Now you missed a prime learning opportunities where you can actually roll with guys who are your level, rolling at your level, and trying to do the same thing. Because frankly, what happens is when you get that blue belt, you try to roll with a white belt and you want to have that, you know, 80% roll to kind of learn. That white belt is looking to smash you because he's looking to earn that blue belt just like you did. So you take the time, learn what's, you know, do what's important, kind of enjoy the journey, and you'll reap the rewards if you do that.
I'm glad you said that. And I'm glad you put this one on the list because we have, in my jiu-jitsu, I've never been, you know, super geared or focused towards the promotion. But to say that it's not important, though, is kind of naive, right? I mean, white belts always want that first promotion. And normally you get that blue belt and you're like, okay, and the next one, it's far enough away. You know, I'm not super concerned about it. And then, you know, push comes to shove, the calendar, you know, ticks away and you're almost ready for that next belt. But the idea that, you know, we shouldn't have long-term goals as promotions is probably wrong, right? I mean, that if you don't have a goal of getting promoted and you're in jiu-jitsu for the art of it, right, then maybe something's wrong, okay? But if you're in jiu-jitsu and your mission is to get better, forget about the promotion. It will come as a byproduct of all of the hard work you're putting into that. And Kevin made mention earlier, enjoy the ride. Most people don't frame this the same way, but you are only those ranks once. You're only a white belt once. The minute you get your blue belt, you're no longer a white belt. The target has gotten bigger, right? And more people are now aimed at you. So from white to blue, blue to purple, right? Working up to black belt. When you get your black belt, it gets a little bit different because your ranks from there, depending on what organization you're in, or sometimes just time and grade. If you're actively training, you know, you'll just get it. But as you're climbing the ladder, once you get a black belt, chances are very, very high that you will never have another belt color your entire jiu-jitsu career. I never will, right? I don't know how long it is, 45 years or something before I can be eligible for that colored belt and the red one or coral belt, whatever the heck it is the next color is. And I'll never get there, right? I mean, I'm pushing 40 now. I doubt I'll be training at 85, let's be honest. So I'll never ever in my entire life right now be another color, right? I'll never be a brown belt again, and enjoy that. Who cares when you get that next promotion? And if you're an ultra competitor and your goal is to get promoted so you can compete in the higher belts, right, or the higher ranked or higher divisions, whatever, then you will target your plan to reach that goal. The goal can be another color or it can be another stripe or whatever, but your plan is not to get a belt, right? That's not a plan.
No.
Right? Your plan is how you're going to systematically get to that point. So, like Kevin said, enjoy the ride. That's the most important part. Forget about it. Enjoy the ride.
On average, how long does it take to be a black belt?
So took me 13 years,
So
but
10
normally, let's say
10 to 14 years, somewhere in between there?
let's say roughly 10 to 12 years. Say that.
10 years, right?
Sure.
Why would you spend the 10 years of your hobby, right?
Right.
Worrying about what your next step is.
Right.
Right. Like I said, and I think that's a big part of it. If you enjoy it, like just enjoy what you're doing. Be happy that that doesn't mean don't have goals, don't look to get better. But if all you're doing is stressing out and not relaxing and just focusing so hard about what it takes to be the next belt, I think you're going to miss one, you're going to miss a lot of the small details along the way. Two, you're going to miss all the fun that you're having on the way.
Put it on the horizon.
Yeah.
Right?
Have it be a goal, but enjoy being that purple belt. Enjoy that promotion. Enjoy everybody looking at you a little bit differently. Enjoy that time, right? Enjoy your accomplishments. You know what I mean? Pull your ego out a little bit. Sulk in it a little bit. You're a blue belt. You're a purple belt. You're better than 80% of the people in the world, let alone the class.
Right.
Right? You're there. Enjoy it. Have a little bit of fun. Make sure it's worth it. And then, frankly, that'll make that next promotion so much sweeter in my mind.
I'd rather be the most experienced blue belt who put in his time than the worst purple belt who people are like, dude, he's a purple belt. You know what I mean? Like people think of you. No, I'm kidding. But nonetheless, I would never ever want to earn a promotion. Let me rephrase this. I would never want to get a promotion and not be that. You know what I mean? Let's say, like, when I got my black belt, I'm good, right? And I didn't question it. I'd hate to get promoted and be like, man, am I really a blue belt? Am I really a purple belt? Or more importantly, look at somebody else's promotion and be like, that motherfucker ain't that shit. He didn't put in his time. He didn't earn that shit, right? I'd hate to be that. So bring this back full circle. Just don't worry about the next promotion, right? Enjoy the ride. Let it come to you when it gets to you. Put in all the hard work that it takes to do what you know you need to do, and it'll come as a byproduct, right? It'll come as a result of all of your hard work. And that's really what you want anyway, right? You want to be rewarded for the effort you put into something, right? Not just, man, I punched the clock every time I was here for the last few years, so I get it. No, you want to earn it. You want to be an active, engaged jiu-jitsu practitioner, and you want to make that shit the most proud thing you can do over everything else.
You got to enjoy the journey. Right, you got to sit back and like I think you said. I think you have to enjoy the journey because if you don't enjoy the journey, you're gonna top out at blue or brown anyways.
Yep.
Right. You're never gonna get a hit to what you want because you're just not enjoying it the same way you were. And when you get towards the orange, it's hard to keep training. You know how it is as a black belt, as a guy who's working towards that. It's hard some days, right? You've got other things that are going on. You got responsibilities. Even if you're a competitor, right? How many are actually making money competing at jiu-jitsu and not having other things in their life? Not a lot. Not at all. And probably a lot of the guys who are competing have second jobs or have really full-time jobs, and they have families. They have all these other things. So if you're not loving what you're doing, you're not enjoying it, and you're just stressing out about your next steps, you're never going to get to those next steps.
I'm glad you segued into that because that'll bring us to number 10. Okay. And this tip is kind of for everybody. And I resonate with this more than anything else is we all need to realize that jiu-jitsu is fucking hard. Okay. It's hard. Jiu-jitsu is not, badminton's hard, but you're not, I'm closer physically in proximity to most of the people I do jiu-jitsu with than my wife on most occasions. Okay. And I'm not saying that to be funny. It's just when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I'm as close as two non-gay men can be. Okay. Who just aren't intimate. Okay. I mean, it's really true, right? I mean, we have clothes on, but I'm closer to all of these people. Right. And in comparison, it's way harder than other shit. Okay. I'm not going to say it's harder than karate. I'm not going to say it's harder than playing soccer, right? It's just fucking hard. Let's just put that on the spectrum. If there's a spectrum and hard is a category, jiu-jitsu's up at the top. Okay. And why is it hard? I got to roll with people smaller than me who may be better than me. That sucks. I got to roll with people the same size as me who may be better than me. That sucks. And I got to go roll with the big guys who, even if they're not better than me, that sucks. Okay. And I have to survive. I have to try to win. I have to try to do things that are representative of my goals in jiu-jitsu. Maybe it's working arm bars. I got to try to arm bar all of those people I just mentioned. Okay. All against people who don't want me to do that. And jiu-jitsu is hard, and it takes a really long time to be good. We've talked about the podcast. When I got my black belt, I said, okay, now it's time to get good. Okay. I had got my black belt. I earned it 13 years in. And at that point in time, it clicked in my head. Now I got to get good. Okay. Not because I wasn't good, right? Quote unquote good. But as a black belt, there are expectations. And as you climb the ladder, there are expectations. So understanding that you are not going to get good overnight. We tell new people it's going to take a month or two before you even have a clue what's going on. Okay. Just like when you start a new job, right? Especially if you switched careers, maybe it's even worse. You start a new job, it's a long time before you understand the rules and regulations, the policies and procedures. You meet all of the appropriate people. You know who to contact for this. You know who to contact for that. You know what paperwork you have to fill out. You know even how to submit for vacation requests, right? It just takes time. Jiu-jitsu is no different, right? And the sooner everybody takes that step back, takes a deep breath, relaxes a little bit, right? Coming back to number 5, relaxes a little bit and go, you know what? Jiu-jitsu is hard. And I'm going to do what I need to do. So understanding that Rome wasn't built in a day. No one. BJ Penn took 4 years to get good, right? Oh, well, verifiably good when he started whooping people's asses in black belt divisions in 4 years. But, it takes a long time. If you come in and expect to be good in a calendar month, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, no, and like you said, it takes a long time. And I think the difference is, and we kind of hinted at it a little bit before we talked about it, winning isn't what jiu-jitsu is about. Jiu-jitsu is about developing and learning. And there's really, it's a skill and detail-oriented martial arts, right? And those are the big thing. Yeah, you can be big and strong and win at tournaments and everything like that, but are you good at jiu-jitsu? Are you good at what jiu-jitsu really is? And the only way you get it's skill and details.
Right.
And the only way you get good at those is taking your time, doing them slow, and it's going to take time to be there, right? Just because you're winning tournaments, because you're outpowering guys, because you're more explosive, that's great. And that's great. You can, people make careers off of that, right? But if you really want to be good at jiu-jitsu, probably like your average guy, or gal for that matter, right? You've got to...
Average guy.
Below average guy,
yeah,
whatever one it is. Yeah, no.
Sure.
No, you have to take your time, and you have to understand that, hey, it's going to be a while before I understand what I need to understand to where I can really start to call myself good.
Right. Agreed. Wholeheartedly. Number 11.
Oh, sorry. I lost place. Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
Comes after 10, before 12.
Carry the 1.
Carry the 1.
Work on your bad areas. So we've talked about this a lot before. And I think a little bit, right? And this is kind of coming to make a plan. But work on the areas that you're not good at, right? And I think this goes all the way down from, and this is easy to say to white belts, right? That's everything, right? Blue belts, that's everything but 2 positions, right? And but even when you look at your top level guys, when you're looking your purple to brown and your brown to black, really that's to me, I think, and you can speak to this a lot more, but really understanding what your limitations are, and being willing to work through them, being able to understand them, and figure out how to get through, how to get past them. To me, this one will help you get all the goals that you want. I'll be better at my guard. If I'm better at my guard, I'll be better at jiu-jitsu. If I'm better at jiu-jitsu, I'll get promoted. 2, it makes it much more enjoyable. In that case, again, a lot of times I talk about enjoying the ride, enjoying the class, enjoying the journey, right? If the whole time I'm rolling with a guy and I'm going, man, I love rolling, except for when he gets me in side control, and this guy happens to be really good at passing my guard or just good at passing guards at all, now all of a sudden it wasn't fun anymore, right? So now if I start working on that, I'm recovering from guard, I'm able to do it. Now it's not that big of a deal. Sure, it's a little less fun when I'm getting smashed, but it's a little less fun, a little less of the time because I figured out how to work on those areas that I needed to. So I think it's really twofold. It's 1, obviously to hit your goals, you want to get better at the things you're not good at. 2, if you're there to have a good time and just learn or just to have fun, well, good. Get yourself back into a position where you can have fun again.
Agreed. I think the idea that I'm torn on this one because it's kind of, there's a dichotomy here, right? In order to be good at jiu-jitsu, you do have to, have above average bad areas, right? Or average bad areas, right? If you suck at side control, that's what everybody's going to go for, right? And if you never work on your bad areas to get out of side control, it's going to be a really long day when you get put in side control. And we see this sometimes with the higher ranks, right? They just don't work on their bad areas enough. And when you first start, all your areas are bad. So, pick and choose, right? There's a finite amount of time in jiu-jitsu, pick and choose. This comes back to have a goal, right? Or have a plan. What was that, number 3? Have a plan. And then you have that plan, you work on your bad areas. And as these things start to synergize together, you will start to reap significant rewards. And working on, I can't say it any better than Kevin did. Working on your bad areas, it's critically important. And when you get better at those, the fun starts to increase because the fun is really, really low when you're bad at something and people capitalize on it. And the fun starts to get a lot higher when those things start to even out because you're working on those and getting better at your bad areas.
Yeah, and the one thing people forget about, your bad area isn't necessarily an area where you're in trouble. I never work out a bottom half guard, right? Bottom half guard is a powerful position. There's a lot of things that you can do. One of your favorites.
Yep.
One of my least favorites. I never work on that. But I get there a lot, and I don't get to have a little fun. I don't get to do a lot of the things I get to do. If I roll with a guy who maybe stinks at it, right? I'm missing out on a lot of jiu-jitsu. I'm missing out on a lot of cool things that I can do because I refused to work at it. So again, I get in a half guard. I got a great guard recover. I've got a lot of setups that I can, get to his back or whatever from there. But why not sit around and play in there a little bit? Learn some sweeps, learn a couple of, things, play around in your bad areas. And your bad area doesn't have to be where you're getting smashed. Maybe it's just not where you're smashing guys as way as you want,
Right.
Same thing with mount, right? I think we've talked about this a lot before. A lot of guys prefer side control. They won't take mount.
Yep.
You know what? Take mount, right? Have some fun. Figure out how to do a few things, work on that.
Technically, it's a better position than side control.
Hey, maybe it's the other way around. Like, hey, I'm great. I can get to mount really easy. Once I have mount, I got guys. Well, work some side control.
Right.
Have a little fun with it. Do a little bit of extra. Learn those things. And again, I think it comes back to it. You'll have fun. You'll learn a little bit more. You'll be able to capitalize on that. Oh, and guess what? If you do all that, you're going to get better and you're going to get promoted.
Agreed. Stamp that shit. That's it. All right. So, last one, number 12. This one is huge in the microcosm of jiu-jitsu, and it is something that requires a little bit of all of the things we've talked about. Don't be a fucking pussy, okay? Don't be a pussy. Jiu-jitsu, by nature, teaches you about survival in bad positions, okay? The worst positions you can imagine. If you're claustrophobic, this is the worst thing imaginable for you. If you get frustrated easily, this is the worst thing for you. If you are somebody who doesn't handle pressure very well, and when I say mental pressure, if you can't handle physical pressure, hit the gym. But if you can't handle mental pressure, jiu-jitsu is going to help you overcome that. Because if you're a fucking pussy, and the minute, we've all been here. When I first started, somebody dropped their gi over my face. I couldn't breathe. I was flailing my arms around, right? I couldn't move. And you tap real quick. You're like, get the fuck off me, get the fuck off me. Right? I couldn't breathe, and I got flustered and frustrated with myself, right? We learn how to not be a pussy, okay? And that's what jiu-jitsu brings out of you. And then we have the other coin, or the other side of the coin, that, oh man, this is slightly uncomfortable. Let's talk about headlock position for a minute, okay? Somebody slides into headlock, and they got this nice fucking headlock grip, right? And they're holding on. You're on the bottom of a side control headlock, right? And you're getting crushed. It's not a position that you'd often tap from, but it isn't a position that's easy for you to stop them doing that, right? And it may take a little bit of a struggle. It might take some hard conviction, and you just tap, okay? Don't be a fucking pussy, right? Try to get out of it. If you know that there's a point of no return because the dude's a black belt who's doing it on you, that doesn't make you a pussy to go, you know what, I need to reset. But if you're just a pussy and you're afraid to come in and roll a little harder, you got a handful of people that you're not going to roll with because you're afraid of them, right? Not because they're just, 4 sizes too big and 3 sizes better, and you want to kind of stick to your goals. But just don't be a fucking pussy.
It's where that ego comes in. It's where that ego comes in. This is where you have to get it.
Tempered it to the point where you're never a fucking pussy. Okay, find that happy medium.
Yeah. You know what? Or when you realize, or frankly, when you realize you're being one, I like you bring up the idea of suffocation, and this is one that it took me a long time. So the idea is, I knew if certain guys were going to get me a mount, they were going to lean forward and they're going to go on my face.
Yep.
And I knew I was going to last 30 seconds, right? And then I was going to have to tap, right? And then I went, I'm going to last 40 seconds. Then I'm going to last 50 seconds. And the next thing you know, I'm comfortable being there, right?
Or I'm not letting that motherfucker put me in that spot.
I think that's
or
that's
I'm
your
gonna move.
goal. But when they do, it's like, listen, I'm not gonna bitch out and tap right away, right? I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna last a little longer. I'm gonna last a little longer, right? And I think that's part of it. And like you said, some of this is you have to be careful. You have to listen to your body. You have to do all those other things that we kind of talked about. But frankly, like I got a cramp, so I'm done rolling for the rest of the day. No, stretch it out, take a round off, listen to your
shoulder of justice he put on me was really uncomfortable, so I had to tap to it.
Well,
you
that's
fat
fine.
piece of shit. Well, don't be a fucking pussy. Don't tap to that shit.
Or tap to it, but don't avoid the guy, right? Maybe you tap to it.
Maybe that shit.
Maybe you don't tap to it, but hey, maybe you tap to it, but it's not a big deal. Don't avoid the guy.
You might tap to it once, and maybe it surprised you, and that's not you being a pussy. That's you being surprised.
Sure.
Okay, but you don't tap to that shit again. Right? And you work so hard to not let that happen. Yeah. The idea of being a pussy is somebody who just mentally quits. Okay? They give up.
To me, it's the guy who doesn't come back, right? I think that's right there, that guy. I really think it's the other way around, right? There are guys that I've had to deal with in the past. We talk about the shoulder of justice. There are guys that would put that shoulder in there, and I tap almost every time, right? I don't avoid that guy. I roll back to him. I figure out, how am I going to fight through this? How am I going to stop him from doing it? When he does it, how am I going to fight through it? What's my escapes, right? I'm not going to avoid a guy because I'm going to be uncomfortable in that position.
Right.
I think that's where that ego comes in. I'm going to let that guy shoulder adjust me. I'm going to stand there for 20 minutes and let him hurt the hell out of me.
Fuck
right?
that dude.
Don't be stupid like that. Listen to your body when you have to tap. Right. You can tap 2, 3, 4 times to it, but don't avoid it. Right. And don't tap early because you think you're going to. Right.
What is that Dwayne Wade commercial? Fall down 7 times, get up 8. Right. Yeah. Dwayne Wade's not a fucking pussy. Right. Everybody, you should be Dwayne Wade. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's exactly
don't be a fucking pussy.
Yeah. He didn't stop driving to the hole. He just went going.
He just kept going. Right. And the idea that, I don't know anybody who gets a blue belt in jiu-jitsu who's a giant pussy. I mean, let's just say that, right? The people who are pussies get weeded out fairly quickly. And when all of these things kind of play together, it's not be the toughest dude in the room. It's not try to be the biggest badass or, the guy who comes in and already knows everything, right? That's an ego thing. It's just know that jiu-jitsu's hard, right? We'll bring all of these together. Know that jiu-jitsu's hard and
be willing to fight through it.
Be willing to fight through it when your body tells you that you can fight through it, right? So let's not rehash all 12, but the idea is, jiu-jitsu is going to be hard and you need to persevere through it. And there are some people who they quit early. They quit not when they needed to, but when they knew that the quicksand was going to start, they quit before they even step into it, right? And, jiu-jitsu is sometimes called a fight. I don't like calling it a fight, but it's sometimes called a fight because if some motherfucker's trying to break my arm,
it's a fight.
It's a fight, right? I mean, or if somebody's trying to choke me unconscious, we scrapping him.
It's called a fight because it is.
Right, because we're battling each other.
We're battling, yeah. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to lose.
Right.
It's easy to get finished. It's hard to lose. That time you're getting smashed. The pulling your arm out. Pulling losing is the easy part. It's getting there. That's the hard part. Yeah. That's the uncomfortable part. So and you've got to be willing to fight through that, right? And again, understanding your body and knowing when to quit, when not to. But pull your ego out. Use it a little bit. Don't
Yep.
Don't quit.
Let's summarize this with "Don't be a fucking pussy."
Yeah, I think we could have shortened the list down.
we could have just left it with that.
One day of Christmas. Don't be a little bitch, pussy.
On the first day of Christmas, Kevin's true love gave. No, I won't go there. Well, yeah. Anyway, so
that almost got dark quick.
Yeah, we almost made this X-rated. Kevin, that's when a woman is naked. I know you don't know anything about that. Okay. Anyway, so guys, the 12 tips we gave you are, some of them are more than tips. Some of them are things that you just have to do in order to be successful at jiu-jitsu. And I mean, maybe that makes it a tip, whatever. These are things that come from experience, and they come from the trials and tribulations that we went through going from white belt. Both of us training 15 years. They translate very well into MMA as well. They translate into pretty much every other thing that you're going to do. If you're a quitter, aka a pussy, jiu-jitsu is probably not for you. If you want to stop being a quitter or stop being a pussy, jiu-jitsu is for you, right? These things are directly hard evidence for people that you see that are good at jiu-jitsu. They've done all of these things, guaranteed. Okay, and people who are successful in life have done all of these things. And if you don't do them now, you're not a bad person. You're not bad at jiu-jitsu, right? Refocus. You can go the long way. It took me till brown belt before I stopped being a pussy. I'll be honest. Okay, I mean, I'm still a pussy now. Let's be frank. But in jiu-jitsu, I was a brown belt for 4 years because I was a pussy, right? Mike tells the story all the time. I was a pussy. And at some point I had to just stop and say, you know what? I was a brown belt for a really long time, and I helped a lot of people out, but now I'm a black belt for a fucking reason. And it's because I'm good at jiu-jitsu and I'm not a pussy. And when push comes to shove, I'd bet on me. Okay. And these things are the empirically tested supporting evidence for you guys getting to that point in time. Okay. So Kevin, let's swing this all the way back very quickly to how about you fucking come to class and start trying to put some of these into practice?
I'll be there. As soon as everything opens back up, my plan is to be back. So my elbows are feeling better. I'm starting to get back into shape. I've been doing a few body weight routines, trying to get back to where I need to get.
Holy shit, your arms got to be huge carrying that body. Damn.
I got some good calves. You know what I mean? Not that the out of shape. Again, we've talked about this in the past. That's not the reason I wasn't coming to jiu-jitsu, right? Just trying to relax. But yeah, no, that'll be the plan. We'll be back soon.
I want to throw an honorable mention into here real quick because you just brought that up. If you don't train jiu-jitsu right now and your excuse is that because you're out of shape, fuck you. Okay?
It's wrong.
You're wrong, right?
You're just wrong.
You're wrong. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Honorable mention on the 13th day of Christmas. Some fat dude came in and started doing jiu-jitsu. This is the best thing you can do if you're out of shape or you're a couch potato. And I don't mean to, imply that you're bad for not doing jiu-jitsu.
I do.
But if you are waiting to get in shape to do something that's going to get you in shape, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Okay.
No.
So
and we
get off the fucking couch and get into the gym.
And we talked about it a little before. Jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of physical challenges to it, but it's a skill in detail-oriented martial arts. So before you're going to go good anyways, you got to learn those two things.
You can lay down if you want.
Yes.
What fat dude doesn't want to go do something where he can lay down? Sure, it's going to suck. You're going to get crushed, but you can lay down. Nobody said you got to hang from a bar and do 45 pull-ups. Motherfucker, you can lay on your back and chill for a minute if you want.
No, I kind of talking about. I did this body weight workout, and I
get a little heated.
I realized I'm in the worst shape of my life that I've ever been. Right,
and when the camera adds 10 pounds, it puts you at like 215.
250 without that camera out of the 2 pounds. No, but I'm in the worst shape of my life. Well, you put me in the middle of a jiu-jitsu mat. I'm gonna hold my own.
Sure.
Right. You put me in the middle of a roll with a guy who doesn't train.
Yeah.
I'm going to do fantastic. Even a guy who works out. You put a guy in front of me, a gym rat who works out, who does all the things, who's in great shape, and we start to wrestle, he's in trouble. Right? So you don't have to be in fantastic shape. You don't need to be there to really get good at jiu-jitsu. Right? You just got to go. Right? I mean, I think that's step one. That's the first thing we talked about. Yeah. You got to come to class. So whether you're, old and been doing it a long time, just making excuses not being there like me, or you're brand new, you're waiting to start, just go.
Take it from these two guys right here, right? Get to the gym, run back through the top 12 ways to get better at jiu-jitsu, and we promise you will get better. You will reap the benefits of heeding these tips and tricks, and your training partners will also get better for it, because as you get better, they'll get better. Iron sharpens iron, right? Is that how it goes?
Yes, iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. Got it. I'm terrible at these things. So anyway, everybody, thanks for listening to the podcast. And if you have any questions about these tips, there's a whole bunch more. These were just our 12 that fit the Christmas theme, right? Quit being a pussy. And as we continue on with more podcasts and we get more guests, right, you'll hear these things kind of implicitly talked about when we talk to better competitors or when we talk to these people. It's, hey, how'd you get that far? Well, I did this, this, and this, and this. And they may not read verbatim to how we gave these tips and tricks, but, we're not lying to you. These things are proven, and I can attest to them. Kevin can attest to them. And,
people are actually good at jiu-jitsu.
People are good at jiu-jitsu can attest to them. I mean, it's something that you guys should at least take the time to think about. So, Kevin, thanks for being here in my basement again. Episode number 30, right? Our second Christmas special. And for everybody out in podcast world, be on the lookout for the next episode. Thanks, guys.